So here we are taking a quick look at the Eurocorps, which is a combination of France and Germany. As you can see, I've gone with the German commands for this. So the German infantry command in the Thux is a lot faster than the VAB. The VAB's 90-150 and the TPZ is 105-150. So these guys are quicker. It's best to have units in similar vehicles that travel at a similar speed. However, to make up for that, I brought the French transport. It doesn't make a huge difference. You've got slightly lighter, faster helicopter logistics with the French ones than you do with the Germans. But otherwise, obviously the options are still fairly similar. If we move on to infantry, surprisingly actually, whereas in the old game I'd normally have gone with French infantry, in this case the German infantry with their faster vehicles have a bit of an edge. So we've got the TPZs again. This one has the Milan, this one doesn't. Both sides have the Milan 2, so both the French and the Germans have the Milan 2. So if you look, where are the French ones? Probably scroll past them, yeah, so at the top. I guess they might have one slightly better Milan. Maybe not. It's got a bit more AP. Other than that, it's not a huge reason. And in terms of anti-air, the Mistral is a better one. It's a better anti-air weapon. But you do get more of these guys, and I can have them in the faster vehicles, better chance of getting to the front. And the infantry, obviously, regular infantry are fairly similar from all the nations. So just having a similar vehicle seems more preferable. In terms of special forces, well, the Commander Marines or the Fallschirmer. And just from my experience, these guys are pretty good. But obviously the Commander Marines are a bit more expensive, slightly better unit. Oop. Take a quick comparison. So yeah, if you look, because the rocket, I think, just has more range and more AP, you're more likely to manage to take out a vehicle, which can make a big difference. Obviously, the Commander Marine will absolutely crush the Fallschirmer head-to-head, but that's not really an issue. So look, so mostly German units so far. Moving on to the support weapons. Once again, I was a bit surprised because the Germans have a lot of the same anti-air the French do. So the French have the radar Roland 3, which is based on the AMX 30, but the Germans have the Roland 3 as well, but theirs is based on the FRP apparently, and that's a bit quicker. So if we compare, look at the Roland 3 for the Germans, get the same number of them, but the German ones are quicker, which makes a big difference. So that was a bit of a surprise. So I went with the German ones for that, but in terms of the infrared options, the French options are better. They have the Crotal, which looks pretty good. The range on that for infrared is very long, and is fire and forget. And also they have obviously the Mistral Jeep, as before. I don't think the Germans have any real equivalent. Not really. So that's perhaps one of the gaps which is covered by the French for the Germans. I just realised I took the PZH M110, which is okay, but I think the Caesar actually might be better. Look at the range on that. Fires faster as well, so I think I'm going to switch to that actually. Can only bring 2, but it might well be worth it. So the Caesar, that's got pretty long range. If we compare that to the one I went with, yeah, so that has 34,000 meters range, and the other one only has 16,800. Dispersion is good. Yeah, I guess the one I went with would have had more HE and more suppression, but then the Caesar has more rounds, higher rate of fire, though it can take less hits. So actually I think I'll stick with the less tough one just because I'm a worse player. But if you're pretty good at handling artillery, I reckon the Caesar will be a better choice. In terms of AAA, obviously the French don't actually have that much good AAA. They have, I think, yeah, the VAB VDAA, which is okay, but in my experience doesn't really do the job. And you've got the classic Flak Panzer Gepard, including the Gepard with the Stinger missiles. However, I went for the cheapest one just because I'll get more of them. So I got 8, I think, whereas I would only get 4 of the Stinger one. And I already have some infrared weapons. The tanks is quite a cool area. So the French have now have the Leclerc, which is very similar to the Leopard 2A5. So if you look at this, the Leclerc has more accuracy, but less AP, and the prices are the same. The Leclerc has less armor, which I don't really like, but on the other hand is slightly quicker, which is understandable balance. I went with the Leopard 2A4 in the end, because I'm a cheapskate, and you get slightly more of them. So you can have 3 hardened ones of them, whereas I only have 2 trained Leopard 2A5s. But the Leclerc is probably a good option as well. If you're playing just the French, you wouldn't really need to have the German tanks. From the medium to light end, I mainly went with the French tanks, which are generally a bit quicker, maybe a bit lighter, but with decent guns. So we've got the AMX-32 and the Brennus as my 2 mid-range tanks. And for the light tank, the Harpoon with its Saklos missile never goes amiss for me. In terms of recon, the 2 helicopters, the basic helicopter recons are pretty similar. The German one's a bit faster, but more expensive. I went with the Alicot in the end. It doesn't make a difference, really. In terms of the armor command, I do quite like the Lux, which you don't really get an equivalent of if you're playing as the French. You get the AMX, but I'm not actually a fan of it. Don't know why, just my experience is I've had a lot more luck scouting around with these guys. So, also, one of the cool recons you can get is this Tiger, which the Germans have, which has both a Stinger and anti-vehicle weapons and rockets, and it's a recon with exceptional optics. So that's an amazing recon. Expensive though. For my fast-moving sort of commando force, I was tempted to get more of these guys, but I'm not a fan of the sniper rifle. I find it just gives away your position. It doesn't actually do a great job. So instead I've gone with the commando's power in the Puma Pirate, which is a pretty good helicopter for just supporting. So that should work quite well. In terms of vehicles, you've got the various ATGM. They're pretty even, the 2 sides, the French and the Germans, so not much difference if you're playing as just one. So in this case, the ITAL 2 of the Germans is probably the best option in my opinion, with good AP, accuracy and range. But you could get pretty good options with the French as well. It's just a matter of taste, really. But in this case, I've mainly gone with the German options. The main advantage with the Germans is just that you get the Flak Panzer, like the super basic Flak Panzer, which is good against for dealing with helicopter rushes and things along those lines. So that's quite handy. Helicopters, you get a nice range of helicopters. So you got more of the Tigers, but this time they're French ones. They're both quite good. You get to pick between anti-air and anti-vehicle, same price. Got the Puma, which I bought some of as sort of cheap support. Got the good old Gazelles, which you'll remember from the old game. And of course the German ATGM helicopters. So I brought the anti-air Gazelle, the German anti-tank, and the French Pumas. Now the aircraft of the French are probably the best. That's probably the main advantage of playing them instead of the Germans, because they have the Rafale, which is a fantastic plane. Exceptional air detection, 50% ECM, massive speed, great weaponry. I've seen this just devastates most opponents. It is expensive and you don't get many, just 2, and that's trained instead of elite, but still good. Now you've got lots of bombers available. You've got the anti-radar ones, including the Jaguar, and where's the other one? Is it the Peace? There is another one. Just looking for it. I saw it earlier. The Tornado ECR, which you will get with the Germans. So they're both good. I haven't actually bought one because I ran out of points. I just bought a basic anti-tank guy, anti-air guy, and a bomber. Yeah, multi-purpose bomber. So yeah, that's an okay set. The French ones generally have good ECM and good weaponry, so actually the French Air Force is pretty good. And probably add to the German one. The Germans do have the Tornadoes. I've seen the F4s, but I'm not convinced myself. In terms of Navy, of course, it's just the usual stuff. Like I have no idea what it's like because they haven't released it yet. So I've just gone with a random selection of vehicles with like coastal, deep sea, riverine, and we'll see how that goes when that comes out. Obviously, these bits will need quite a lot of adjusting. There you go. The Eurocorps, pretty good. Although I'd say that both the German and French decks on their own would both work quite well. Neither's really missing much. So it's not really a necessary coalition. Whereas some Some factions I think need it a lot more than others. Edge. So we've got the TPZs again. This one has the Milan, this one doesn't. Both sides have the Milan too, so both the French and the Germans have the Milan too. So if you look, where are the French ones? Probably scroll past them, yeah. So, and the TPZ is 105, 150. So these guys are quicker. It's best to have your units in similar vehicles that travel at a similar speed. However, to make up for that, I brought the French transport. It doesn't make a huge difference. You've got slightly lighter, faster helicopter logistics at the top. I guess they might have one slightly better Milan. Maybe not. It's got a bit more AP. Other than that, it's not a huge reason. And in terms of anti-air, the Mistral is a better one. It's better with the French ones than you do with the Germans. But otherwise, obviously the options are still fairly similar. If we move on to infantry, surprisingly actually, whereas in the old game I'd normally have gone with French infantry, in this case the German infantry with their faster vehicles have a bit of an edge. So here we are taking a quick look at the Eurocorps, which is a combination of France and Germany. As you can see, I've gone with the German commands for this. So the German infantry command in the Thux is a lot faster than the VAB. The VAB's 90, 150,